But we'll see. We did have DHRM scheduled to come and speak with us, and at the very last minute something happened and they could not send a representative. So in place of that, we have our great communications person, Liz, and she's going to be conducting this session. So I'll turn it over to Liz.
So I'm going to start, and I'm going to come away from the podium here and say, as we get started, does anybody have any questions that they were thinking about before you got here today? Because here's the deal, if you don't ask me questions, I'm going to ask you questions. Yes?
The question I have is, I'm a retired state employee, plus I'm a wage employee in the state as well.
Okay.
My question is the $1,000 bonus that the state employees will be getting in December.
Yep.
Are the wage employees entitled to that $1,000 bonus as well?
Do you know? No?
No, it's only for full-time employees. I wish it was for wage, but it's only for full-time. Because that's what my understanding.
Okay, because the verbiage didn't come out clearly on that.
Yes,
Okay?
you're right.
They gave us the 5%, but there wasn't no clarity on the $1,000 bonus. So that was my question. So.
Gotcha.
Okay.
If we find out something different, we'll.
Well, I was going to say, we will take that and also answer that back to the rest of the VGA members, because if you've got the question, certainly other people also have the question, and we can help clear that up.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you. Anybody else have questions right now? Yes, Dee.
Yeah, I don't know when they renegotiate the health care, that we get, the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And, but everybody I'm talking to, particularly the retirees that aren't involved with the state, get all these benefits from other systems. And I know we can leave and get our own, but then you can't come back. But I don't feel like we're being competitive from what I hear other healthcare systems are offering, people that are senior citizens.
Okay, so first of all, you can help me, if you don't mind, by telling me a little bit more about what you just said about once you leave the system, you can't come back. So the state offers you a health care option after you retire, and you say if you decline that option, you can never come back to it.
Right.
It's a once and done kind of thing. Okay, but you're hearing of people who actually have
I'll
gone.
give you an example. I've known several people that say, oh, I get a list every month of things from the pharmacy that I can get for free. They have, you can get different either over-the-counter medicines, or I'll tell you, my sister had issues and she could get attachments that go to the commode. You can get, those kinds of accessories.
Right.
And they were free. And I'm like, wow, that we're talking quite a few dollars on a monthly basis. There have been, I think we may be able to get into health clubs now, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's pretty limited, but one of the things
I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads about the health club thing, not a benefit that you've seen, that you're aware of.
But one of the reasons is that we don't have an ID as retirees. And I've talked about this to the DHRM till blue in the face, because most of the time, in order to benefit from anything that they offer state, you have to have your ID to prove your. Well, retirees don't have any of that kind of identification. So that any of those kinds of things that may be available, it's very difficult to access.
Interesting that you say that, because in the previous session, somebody had brought up the fact that DHRM offers a lot of discounts, but to active state employees and not retirees, and that there was no way to identify, that there was got to be some way that you could identify that you were a retiree and open those things up to retirees as well. So we actually catch it when you see Cynthia's grabbing these ideas too, that she'll share with the board and move forward with them. But that was something that they were talking about too, that you've got all these benefits that all of a sudden end once you retire. So you don't go to the DHRM. DHRM has that list of all of the different discounts and things. You can't do that anymore, right? So as a retiree.
Of course I know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so basically what you're saying is we should be advocating for better benefits through the retiree health program.
Exactly, and one of the things I think that they miss is that if you would offer more things to retirees to keep them in a healthier plane,
Right, yeah.
you would benefit from them not having as many medical issues. I mean,
Right.
come on, could be a cost-saving measure.
Well, that's why I'm almost surprised, I'm seriously surprised to hear it. So did you used to have did they used to offer a physical fitness or gym discount membership or something like that too? They did? So we're going to
Silver sneakers.
Uh-huh.
And it was stopped. I think we checked and they said it had something to do with Anthem.
Okay.
They just decided to take it.
Well, and I'd be interested in what the participation is, right? So what was it that caused them to get rid of that?
They
But
never told us.
right. Money. Just went away. Okay. Yes.
I was just another comment was one of the benefits I had when I was an active employee was going through this health service where you could get your monthly medications free
Right.
if you participated in it. And now when I'm a new retiree, so now I don't get that benefit.
Oh, wow.
Do you have Anthem?
Mm-hmm.
They still have it, because I
Do that?
have
I
it.
asked. I've
Yes.
been asking them.
Yes.
All right, so it sounds like y'all need to have a conversation. And then we need to,
The premium rewards you're talking about?
No, it's
No.
kind of like I'd speak with a nurse, like every
Yes,
month or
they
so.
still have it.
Yeah, they
Condition
still
care,
have that.
yes.
Okay.
If you're still in Anthem,
Yeah.
they still have it.
well, not only that, you can get her, but to the point that I said before, if you've got the question, there are other retirees who have the same question and they're wondering about the same thing. So we can make sure to communicate that out to the rest of the VGA membership. And again, this is one of the things we were talking about at the last session. What are the benefits of continuing to be a part of VGA? Well, it's this kind of thing where we're talking through and we're actually looking like what the policies are and trying to make sure that people are advocated for in all stages of Virginia employment. Yeah, come on up, Rick.
That's
Come
all.
on, you're good?
Tell me the name of the facility that you announced was this group that we were talking about. They talked to, the nurses call you and
Yes,
talk.
condition care. Condition care, yes.
My wife actually has it,
Yes.
because I still have Anthem after I retired.
Okay.
They call her and she gets her diabetes medicine, I think, free. And
Diabetes,
So never heard of it.
any of it.
But it sounds like y'all are interested. He said he's been retired for 10 years and he's not familiar with this.
And so that's going to be a lot of people.
Right, so it sounds like people are missing like a pretty substantial benefit.
Yeah,
They don't,
The foresight thing was after we found out
Absolutely.
the procedure to come up with it.
Without a doubt. So we'll
I got the
get,
number and everything.
yeah, so we'll let everybody know about that and continue to look for those ways. Because again, we are concerned, and we heard through our survey about how many retirees were concerned that, yes, you guys are getting, active employees are getting raises and you're getting a bonus, but don't forget about retirees, and that inflation is really hitting us hard. And so the more we can find ways to help you to keep more money in your pocket, right, through these discounts or through these benefits, the better. Any other questions? You got a question? Yeah, I'm teasing. That's all right. Oh my gosh, you're totally fine. Tell me, all right, so I'm going to ask you a question. Tell me what kind of information would you be willing to share some of the information that you, like I was like, tell me, and then I'm like, no, would you please? Would you mind telling me some of the information that you learned or some of the standout information that you learned in the session with VRS right now? Was anything stand out? Did anything really help you? Was there anything that you learned that you didn't know before?
I learned that they've enhanced the VRS website, and there's a lot of things that we can do on there now that we couldn't do before. Lots of buttons we can push so we can educate ourselves with different information that I didn't know was out there right now.
Okay, so better VRS website available too, okay? All right, when, do you know when they updated it?
I don't.
They didn't really say
No.
about it. The other thing that I found out today is that if you retire from the state and you go back as a P14 in one of the state agencies, there's one form you can fill out and you can still make contribution to your 457 plan.
Yeah.
Okay, and now that's something, that's something we want to make sure that people know. Absolutely. What else? Somebody else?
That falls on the part-time status also. Yes.
So whether you're part-time or full-time, you can still.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, and did they tell you what you have to do that?
He is emailing me the form, which I will forward
Gotcha.
to send
Okay.
to Cynthia, and maybe we can put it in
Yeah.
Nick's foresight.
And so tell me what that means to you, that you can still
What that
contribute to
means,
the
that means
457.
that even though I've retired, I can still build that defined fund
Right?
so that my benefits are still increased, my income is still increasing
Gotcha.
for when I need to draw money out of that.
Okay.
So.
That sounds pretty important. Right? So that's like an interest, it's an interest-bearing account, or is it just, do they match any of it?
The 457 is like an IRA.
Okay, it is an IRA, so,
Or
okay.
401k.
Yeah.
Okay, so it does,
Yeah.
okay, so you do accrue interest on it,
Yes.
so it's just like that. Okay, so you're putting in money to make money.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
always.
government version of 401k.
Okay, gotcha. Well, thank you for letting me know. And getting me up to speed on
And it was
this.
one I had asked our agency HR department and never got a response
Oh,
from.
wow. Wow.
So that's,
Again, another benefit.
Yes.
And you know that if you have that question.
Yep.
Now, all right, why did you have the question, or did they just bring it up?
it was a question I asked them.
You did. Now, why did you have the question?
Why did I?
I was just interested, yeah, I'm just interested to know what prompted you to ask. I have a reason for asking this. I have a reason. I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay, the reason I asked that question is because I retired from the state with full retirement, but I'm not eligible for Social Security yet.
Right?
And going back part-time, I was like, oh, I'm returning to work. I still want to put money in my defined comp if possible, so that I'm still preparing for later on.
Right.
So that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so what I was going to say is one of the other benefits, and I know I'm continuing to push this, but it's true, is that had you had that question and you had gone and you emailed.
HR.
You emailed.
No, she did email.
Yeah.
You did, and she emailed HR, HR didn't respond. Had you emailed Marshall and said, hey, Marshall, I got a question about this, he would have gotten it to the right, he would get it to the right people and would get the answer, and then again, we're gonna do the best job possible of getting that information out to the wider audience.
It was one of those things I said, I know I'm not the only.
Right.
Right.
With this question.
Right.
And when I thought about it, I was like, oh, HR will know this. Send it to HR. I was like, well, Dad, you're not responding. Well, we meet on
Right.
Friday. Somebody from HR from BRS is gonna be there. I'll just ask them because they won't know. So I asked them, like, yes, it's one form, you send it to us. Once you send it to us, you'll be able to make changes online.
Right.
Just like
Right.
you are a full employee. But we just have to it's a different way to get you into the system.
Gotcha.
So that you can make the payroll deductible. And
There you go.
there you go.
VRS also has a good, I don't know who's on Facebook and who's not, but if you are on Facebook, VRS has a really well-managed social media presence. DHRM, I didn't see that theirs was the same. Whoever's running the VRS one has consistent information that is coming out. So if you pop over there, I mean, obviously you can go to the website, but it's sometimes nice to just be scrolling through and you see a little update. And so I recommend you do that if you're on there. Okay, yes.
I just wanted to make a comment on what you were saying, that VRS website, it's easier to navigate for me now, and the social media. Like I said, I do see more marketing from VRS, and I really appreciate that.
Yes, it makes a difference, and what they're putting out, and that's the reason I mentioned it, what they're putting out on their social media seems to be very relevant, very helpful information, and so maybe you're not, just like today, maybe you're not looking for a particular piece of information, but all of a sudden, it's there, just like with finding out today that something that you didn't know about for 10 years, so.
Right.
So thank you for mentioning that.
Not to cut her off, I'm not on any social media.
Right.
I use email. and that's
Right,
it.
right?
So anything important
Right.
that might be on Facebook, I don't believe in any of that. So
Right.
That's fine.
Right. No, and you are certainly,
That's the foresight has it.
Right.
so you do get our emails though, you get
Yeah, I get
emails.
emails.
And VRS, I'm assuming, sends out do they send out regular emails to Virginia retirees?
No, it's in
No.
our newsletter.
They send out a newsletter. Huh? Maybe we
The
need to.
newsletters.
We should her name's Jean? Jeannie. We should let Jeannie know that they need, seriously.
Yeah, the social media, I just,
Oh, you're certainly not alone. And
No, you're not.
like in all age groups, I have friends of mine who have never been on Facebook, so it's a thing, and that is okay. We just want to make sure, knowing that we get the information out, and that's why we would never stop things like the email and the newsletter, because we know that sometimes that's right. You need all of that stuff across the board to make sure that we get information to everybody. What else did you learn at the last session? Anything else that would be helpful? Yeah.
One thing I learned was about the COLA, and when the retirees, being a new retiree, I didn't know, and when the newsletter came out, the foresight, it had in there about the 750 million or whatever that was being put into the retirement.
Yes.
But it didn't say, when I learned over there, is that in February, I
Right.
guess they're going to address the COLA for the retarees
Right.
for next year.
Don't-
But I didn't know that, so I was like, what are the retirees getting?
Right.
Because I didn't see it in the foresight.
So is that something that we want to make sure that that everybody knows? And tell me more about that, because I don't know.
Well, I just, over here in the.
So what's
he
COLA?
said- Oh, the cost of living.
Cost of living increase. See, again, I've been here since May, so y'all are, that's why this question and answer, I'm like, I'm learning as much and more than y'all are. So there was a cost of living increase that was for active employees, but you're like, where's
Well, the
my?
state employees are getting the 5%.
Right.
Current this year and 5% next year.
Yep.
And I knew it was that the first year I don't get a COLA, like I wouldn't have gotten the COLA increase this year anyway.
Right.
But next year I will. So.
Oh, so retirees do get a cost of living increase.
And he said it's written into the legislation. It's in what I.
Gotcha.
Every state does not have that.
Every-
Some of the-
Yeah.
We're one of the few states that have cost of living.
Wow.
And so we're very blessed
Yes.
that the original setup was to give us a cost of living.
And it's different almost every year.
Yeah. And it's been 1%.
Last 1 year.
But it, what's 3.85?
It was 385
last
this year.
Wow.
year, and it probably will be, I was talking to one of the people that just got off the VRS board, and he thinks it'll probably be somewhere around 3.5 or so again in February. So that's a night. Now, that's not guaranteed. You don't know what the economy's going to do, but
Right.
Right.
right now it looks like Social Security is going to be about 9.6
At least.
Wow.
at least in January.
They're going to do almost a 10% increase.
Which is out of this world, yeah.
Right.
We hope.
Right?
Is the COLA based off the CPI?
But the federal, by law, it has this tremendous number of different things that they look at. But
And calculate
most of
it.
it's on inflation,
Right.
CPI, so, but they get drilled down into some categories. D, you may know more about that than I do, but they drill down into gas prices, get put in all of this things that impact Social Security people. So,
But there's a lot of criticism about it. I mean, it has been for 20 years because of what they decide to look at the world has changed so much, and it's still not built into the CPI, but that's the standard that everybody uses.
Yeah.
All right, so another question just popped into my head. How can the VGEA help you? What are the other ways? I mean, we put out the survey about legislative priorities, and we did ask everybody who responded whether they were an active employee or a retiree. And so we heard those responses from retirees. But since you're sitting in here right now and we're having a conversation, are there any things that are top of mind to you that would be helpful to you that we haven't covered today, or that you think that we might not know about? Yeah, Roy?
Healthcare credit.
Healthcare what?
Healthcare credit.
All right, talk to me about that.
Around $4 for your service. Think about trying to get that raised to maybe $1 to at least shoot for that. I keep hearing about the unfunded liability. Maybe you guys can help me with that, because I still don't quite understand it. I talked to a lady over here with VRS, but I still don't quite understand about the unfunded part of it. Y'all shedding light on that?
Roy, several years ago, you and I had these conversations, and I think I got back with you, but we actually went down and talked to them about some opportunities, and that was before COVID. And they talked about the unfunded liability that they were trying to eliminate because we were not funding all of our retirement liabilities through the legislative budgeting process.
What I understand is the legislature has to refund that every year. It's not forgiven, right?
It's a carried over through every biennial budget. And what happened in the last 2 budgets that Northern put in, they paid off, what, over $1 billion in the liability, the part that they're not paying or haven't been paying. And that's reduced the liability on the counties and cities and like the other people that belong to VRS. And it helps. So this is the time to do something on that credit. And if we can't get it now, we'll probably will never get it. So I think it would be a good time to add that to the agenda for the retiree.
It's been on the agenda for years.
Yes, it has.
Just wanted to say.
Yeah.
I think we actually talked about it 3 different sessions, and what Lynn was saying, we went and talked to Aubrey Lean. Remember, it was like 3 or 4 of us, and he kind of gave an example that for the state employees, we just got this number of workers, but when it's fallen under VRS and stuff like that, you got to include all the people that's involved, and that's going to create a large liability, right? And that's the way he kind of put it. Said it would probably never happen.
We always keep hearing this will cost us millions of dollars.
Right.
Well, our budget is billions of dollars.
Yes.
So now I need to talk about some real money here. So, like I said, I think it's time to pursue it. At least we may not get it, but don't ask for it if you won't get it.
Roy, I think that the posture has been while I was there, and I know it's going to continue. If you don't ask for it, they're not going to give it to you.
Right.
And if you remember, one of the greatest benefits of VGEA is we're the voice of retirees and state employees.
Right.
And if we're not telling the story, it's not being told.
We're the only ones telling us.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I will say that healthcare credit is a great benefit.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Very much so.
Yes.
It is a big help.
Now that healthcare benefit, is that something that, I'm sitting down because my feet hurt, okay? So I'm taking a load off over here at the front table, hope y'all don't mind. But, and if you do mind, please, give me a yes.
But the other thing is that $4 has been $4. I retired in 2004. And notice $4 then, so it's probably $4 at least 20 years. So it seems like with inflation and everything else that we could budget a little bit.
At least 50
So is this a benefit that all retirees know about, everybody knows about it?
Well, 15 years of state service.
15 years of service. 15 years of service. Okay.
Can I retire? You don't get it.
Okay. And so that's an incentive, right?
Yeah, the maximum.
That's a maximum station, yeah.
It's $124.
Yeah,
There we go.
$24. So once it doesn't matter if you have.
Do what? You've been getting it for 15 years now? Gotcha.
But health insurance still costs me almost $700 a month.
Wow. I'd like to say I'm surprised by that, but I'm not surprised.
Let's say if you get like I carried the insurance I had as an active employee forward into retirement. So you're looking at paying $800 and some, but they give you back $124. To me, that doesn't seem like you appreciated my 38 years of service too much.
Right? So more to keep advocating for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we did vote on that last night.
Roy, did we answer enough of the, are you good? Are you kind
I think that's all we get.
Let's not eat a dead horse.
Oh my goodness.
And Roy, remember, we did vote on that last night to carry that forward.
You understand that?
Yeah.
And you gave it a thumbs up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So VGEA.
But we need a lot of people, and not just a little bit of people in this room to be pushing for that.
Well, and that's another thing I was just going to ask. We talked a lot, as a matter of fact, we were very fired up in our last session. Right, you were there. People were they were like, how can we build out the membership of the VGA? And there was a lot of passion around the room, a lot of ideas, and I think Rick's got a lot of people that are going to be wanting to work with them. So my question to you is, how do you think, other way, we talked about providing additional resources for the individuals who are members of VGA so that they can give things to people. We tried to dispel some myths. I literally talked to a woman who said that she had worked for one state agency who said, you're not allowed to join the VGA. She multiple times was told that she wasn't allowed to join because it's a union.
That's totally true.
Yeah.
Because I'm from a small town with small-minded thinking people.
Right.
And another thing was the $4 a month was just coming, or is it every paycheck, whatever. For the $96, they didn't see where they were getting the benefit for their money, and that's not true at all.
Right.
The savings from Liberty Mutual is, and your cell phone is more than
Right,
that
exactly.
within your fee.
Well, and one of the things we talked about, as some of the active employees were wondering about ways that they could share with other employees what the benefits were, because if you listen to something like Dylan's speech, his presentation was fantastic. There's a lot of information, but if you're talking to somebody who's brand new to knowing who the VGA is, that's going to go right over their head. You got to get to the real deal, simple benefits of what it means to be a member and what it means to be a retiree and still be a member. So I said that I would absolutely be working with the executive team and the board to make sure that we've got materials available to people, and a website and social media and all of those things that will help to distill the benefits into meaningful, helpful nuggets. Yeah, so that we can share that. Yeah, Roy, did you have something?
Something else?
I got something.
Roy, you want to come up here? You can.
Yeah, let him have
Come on.
A lot of our job is not just to talk among ourselves.
Right.
We have to educate our legislators, our senators, and our delegates. Because a lot of these people come in brand new. Someone just got elected. They don't even know about VGA.
Exactly.
They don't know what we need. So Rick does a good job, and these guys do a good job. We need to educate those folks and know what their needs are. They've got, 1,500 bills coming in one time in January?
Wow.
I said, I'll
Over
look for something to look
7,000, I
at.
think, last year.
Well, that's a small part of that.
As a retiree from all the things now, I can comment. But one of the things that amazed me about Rick, and we talked about it early in the process, but every new legislator, he meets the aide the day that they come into session and gets a meeting set up and gives them a little something with VGEA on it. And he'll send them Christmas cards, birthday cards,
Sympathy cards.
yeah. But Roy, without relationships, they have no clue when it comes up. Now, what we try to do is pay particular attention to House Appropriations, Senate Finance.
Right.
And the subcommittee in particular that Chap Peterson has that is on the money side of it. It's the benefit piece. And Rick spends an inordinate amount of time making sure, because a lot of people don't realize that. And the thing Rick realizes, it's not just the legislator. If you're nice and respectful and get to know the aide,
Oh, yeah.
then a lot of people come in and just, I'm a big shot, so get out of my way, I need to go in and see the delegate. That doesn't work. Because when we need to see that delegate, we talk to the aide and we go right in. Or Rick goes right in.
We this coming year.
But,
And I will tell you that we are meeting with Chap Peterson this
Yes.
coming Tuesday.
Yes, we are.
So we've got several things we're gonna maybe try to start ahead of time, maybe get some pre-billing done maybe.
Exactly.
We'll see if we can do it.
Yeah, over the next month, we have a lot of meetings coming up.
We're asking for a piece of this pie.
yeah.
We just want a tiny slice.
Yep.
I want a big slice.
Do y'all realize that not one of those bills that's passed can be developed or implemented without us? Not one. Our people make it work. They develop the processes that make it work. They actually perform it with the public. They do everything. So every bill they pass would mean very little if they didn't have state employees to make them work. So
Right.
you need to make sure that they understand that. So.
It's a great point. So what else can the VGA do for y'all? What do we need to do? What are we missing? How do we get younger generations? That's one of the things that we keep talking about. Obviously, something that Marshall cares about deeply, and I hear Dylan continue to talk about it, is making state employment something that is very attractive to younger generations, keeping them employed. That's why telework is such a big deal. That's why titles and compensation and those things are so critical to our legislative agenda.
It's recruit and retain.
Recruit and retain, that's right. Get it right.
Yes.
And I felt like our conversation with Secretary McDermott, she obviously wants to continue that way, and so her passion is, as you saw if you read the article, is definitely in IT and improving the IT systems throughout the Commonwealth, which is a huge endeavor, but she's very passionate about it. A lot of people, though, a lot of young employees won't come on if things are so antiquated, and if they don't have new, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, do you have any thoughts about that, about how it's almost like paying for it? Y'all have been there, done that, you've worked for the state. Do you have any suggestions about what we can do for those who are just entering the workforce? Any ways that the VGA could encourage them?
We need to modernize our computer systems for most agencies.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that's honestly one of the reasons that he chose Lynn McDermott as the Secretary of Administration, because that is her background. And she has a really impressive IT background, like legit.
It's amazing, the black screens and green screens that most agencies still use.
Right?
Yes. It's truly amazing.
Well, that being said, my background is I was in corporate for a long time, and I started working with corporate and nonprofits and the whole gamut. The corporations I worked for Fortune 100 companies who were so, it looks on the surface that they are modern, but if you go behind the scenes, they're just as, we call it kludgy, pasted together. in kind of monstrous situation. So it's not just something that state governments deal with, but it is definitely a problem. And security. As a matter of fact, I saw something on LinkedIn the other day. There's somebody in Richmond is having a cybersecurity conference specifically to protect the data of the state citizens, because it's a big deal that if we don't have updated information, updated IT, then we leave ourselves open to cyber attacks. So I know that she's on a task force or something about that. I think so.
Yeah, when you use the F keys.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
No. What happens? No, I don't know. What happens when you use the F keys?
Nobody ever does it anymore. My agencies are still doing F keys to get to different places on the screen.
Oh, wow. Right.
That is old technology.
Well, that means there's nothing, aside from continuing to develop the relationship with people like Lynn and encouraging that and helping with the retention and recruiting for those employees, so we get good people in who are smart enough, because what they'll do is those people will go to other organizations that have better IT systems that they can work on. So there's got to be special ways that we can entice them to stay work. Somebody was saying before that a millennial in our last meeting was saying that even though they were a millennial, when they were younger, that stay work was the thing.
Exactly.
It was, you knew that you kind of like arrived. It was great benefits. It had prestige with it. And so she was hoping that even as a millennial that would regain some of its popularity.
I think you have an issue, and unfortunately I think Governor Youngkin was given some really poor information on just the telecommuting. For a younger worker, the work, having a flexible work week and work day is critical.
Yes.
And when you're looking at 8 to 5 for a state work, that doesn't work for some of the younger people.
Right.
And so I think, when they hear that globally, they're going, they're not going there.
Right.
And there's obviously right now a lot of other options for them.
Right.
So we're not sending the right message, I think, for one.
Right.
I agree.
Is VGA part of state employee introduction?
Probably, most likely not.
It's by agency.
It's by, yes, it's what we heard previously was that it was by agency. So, for instance, one person said that they had heard about the VGA and they actually had one of the brochures. Yes.
Yeah, I would love for it to be in there. I would absolutely love
Like, it
That
was
would be
part of where I worked, it was part of the onboarding, but when they went to doing everything online, it went away.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, I just told Rick I was going to get our new HR director's phone number to him to see if we could at least get something back in to
So
that.
you're going to hear that when we go back in. We're going to put a sign-up sheet. There were a lot of people in the last session who said, I'll get you in touch with my HR. I would
Yes.
love for other employees to hear about this. So I'll get you in touch with our HR point of contact. And so we're actually going to have a sign-up sheet out here where you can put your name, the HR, or we'll get in contact with you if you don't have their contact information right now.
One of the
But
things with private industry, I don't know if anybody else has heard this, they are now allowing, like if I work for, say, Dell, I could actually sign up with this organization and do a remote year in another country,
Yes.
working from another country.
sounds cool.
Yeah.
And millennials love that
Yes.
type of stuff. Like my son just left his employment and went to another agency, another corporation working out of DC. He lives here in Richmond. His salary almost doubled.
Wow.
And so those are the kind of, he actually makes more than his dad makes, who has 40 years experience with the state
Right.
in one job change. So we're competing with that type of thing where they can now work and get experiences, like they can work overseas, they can, you can work for a company here in the US and live in another country for a year
Right.
as an experience. yet the state don't want you to work in Richmond and live in North Carolina.
Right.
That type of thing. And so we've got to get our thinking more modern.
Right.
That you don't have to live within a certain distance from your place of work. You don't have to be in a physical building
Right.
to do your job anymore.
And then we can get rid of the physical buildings, save the money, pay the employees.
So it ends up back in the employee's pocket.
Yeah.
And saving the taxpayers money.
Yes.
Yep. Mhm.
I have a question for the board members. The process of becoming a VGA member, okay? The reason I'm asking this question is one of my coworkers took him 2 years to become a member.
Why?
I don't know, but he just finally became a member. He told me that about a month ago. He's been trying for 2 years to become a member.
I know one of the things we're hearing is like, we have you can go online and you sign up, but a lot of agencies now are still requiring us to give them a physical piece of paper in order to implement payroll deduction. Like my agency, they still require that whole form in the original form in order to enroll you in payroll deduction. So that's one of the things that we have to work through, because we got however many state agencies. I almost said 122, but that's just the agencies within my agency. Doing it 122 different ways, so to speak. So, you know, DSS requires this. VDOT requires something different. And a lot of, if you got one person in there who thinks VGEA is a union, they become a block point.
Exactly.
And you gotta work around and fight with them to get them to understand the difference between a union and an association. And that's a constant ongoing battle. And trying to standardize the process among all the agencies is a constant ongoing battle.
Thank you, friend, for being patient and to be steady trying to
I
get.
was telling him about coming to these meetings, and he was real enthused about coming.
Right.
And he stopped by the office about a couple months ago. He said, I finally got one with VGA.
See, I didn't let them take it out of my paycheck. I just paid once a year. Maybe that's what he should have checked, a different box.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, the other thing is, I mean, 2 years seems extraordinary, right? So my recommendation to him would have been contact the VGA and let us advocate on his behalf to move that process forward. There is no way that anybody in the executive board or this team thinks that it's okay that it took somebody 2 years.
Right.
I mean, 2 months
is long, too long.
I mean, 2 months is way too long. 2 years is something completely different. That's crazy.
Persistent, got it.
Well, he ended up transferring to Richmond District, the Elko lab, and that's how he finally got on. Culpepper, I don't know what happened with up there with Culpepper, but
Which agency did he work for before?
VDOT. He's still in the VDOT, but he's still in materials division as well. So
Normally, VDOT's been good to work.
Yeah.
I wonder if it might be a little more to that story than something don't sound right.
It still depends on the district offices, HR.
Right.
And some people just leave it land.
Yeah.
And if anyone ever has a problem, make sure they get in touch with us. Because we definitely here.
And I'll tell you a quick story, and I think we went out of time, but anyway, this was actually down college. I had I went over and set up in the summertime. Teachers getting ready to come back and professors coming back. And I got 2 or 3 applications that day, so I mailed them in, because I stayed after hours in the lobby, so I mailed them in. Well, then the deductions didn't start. And one of the ladies called and said, did you take my application in? They're not doing it. And I said, well, yeah, I mailed them in. So I went back to the college and talked to the HR person, and as soon as I walked in and told her who it was, she just went berserk. The idea of you creating more work for me to do. And I said, aren't you a state employee? Don't matter if I'm a state employee. You don't do anything for the state employees. I said, that's my job. That's what I do. She was getting so irate, and then by this time in the area she was in, of course, people stopped and listened. So finally I said, well, look, I tell you what, I'm not going to argue with you because I thought, I'm going to burn this bridge completely if I argue with her. I did contact her office manager, I guess, for lack of other words. She made the comment that the lady was difficult to work with and that she would try to get her on board and never process those applications. Wow. So I thought I could go back even one step higher, but I thought if I do that, I'm going to burn the bridge here and I'm never getting back in. So we lost, it was either 2 or 3 applications because this one person did not want to push a button to do the payroll deduction. So it was extra work for her. So you have to pick and choose. It could be a similar situation with your friend in VDOT.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound normal. In this case with Neville Reed College was not normal either. Most HR people are very receptive.
Well, thank you all so much for this time, this conversation together. It's nice to meet you. There's, again, the conversation doesn't need to end here. If you have other questions, other thoughts, definitely reach out to us if there's anything that we can do for you, okay?